how do you replace an inner clutch cover gasket on a two-stroke? That's what we're here to do with you guys today. We are going to be working on my 2024 300RR Race Edition Beta, but this is very much like every other inner clutch cover gasket, even on four-strokes. They're all pretty much the same. So this one was leaking. There's a few things. As we get into it, I'll show you what's going on. But really the big thing was that I noticed a weep underneath it. And I was like, oh, man. And it turns out literally every bolt got loose on the inner clutch cover. And I never touched it. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I take that back. I installed the kickstart kit. But that was many, many months ago, a year ago now, and over a year ago. And no problems until relatively recently when all the bolts came loose. So they weren't like falling out loose, but they were loose. I also lost a motor mount and some other things. So I think this bike just vibrates a lot. But anyway, let's go through it. Let's take this thing apart, show you how to do this clutch cover gasket, and put it all back together. All right, first things first, we got to take some other stuff off. We're going to take the pipe off, get it out of the way, because it's sort of covering things up. We're going to take the skid plate off. We're going to drain the oil, drain the coolant, and then we can get after. Oh, we got to take this brake pedal off too. So, yeah, let's get after it. You guys can see the evidence. This side's got all the buildup of dirt. That's from the oil leaking out. Also got to do some tweaking of that because it's bent. Clearly, those were not theirs. Yeah. All right, guys, so coolant and oil more or less drained. More coolant will come out, you'll see, as we take more stuff off. But let's go now to getting our clutch cover, this Enduro Hog clutch cover, which I like. It's not like super crazy protective, but it's pretty freaking good. And they're inexpensive, and they fit well, and all that. Like, I will show you, though, part of what made me think it was a damage situation, not just bolts loose, was what happened to this cover. One second here. You can see brake pedal went into that, did go through it, and then if we look here, you can see it definitely dinged it, but it didn't go through the cover, I don't think. So it's all grimy, but I'm pretty sure that grime is from these bolts being loose and the other one. So let's keep going. Now I'm going to separate the outer clutch cover from the inner clutch cover. You don't have to do that. You can actually just take it all off as one. But I want to take a look at this gasket while we're in here. All right, so this gasket is just an O-ring, and it looks okay. So even with that ding in the cover, it all looks fine. So we're going to clean that sucker up. All right, now guys, you can see this is the same style as a KTM. It's got the diaphragm clutch, diaphragm spring on there. Next thing we need to do is we're going to go ahead and take the water pump cover off separate, because we're going to take the impeller off, and well, you'll see. The hose loose. Actually, I take that back. We are going to just take this hose off. Guys, quick little pro tip here. When you undo the hose, I re-tighten it so it can't fall off. You don't have to go crazy, just enough so it doesn't want to come off. Now we're going to take this power valve cover off. Being careful not to tear that gasket, because I didn't get one, and you shouldn't need one. They're made to be off and on. So set that down out of the way. All right, this one is just like a KTM now. I'll show you. It's got the actuator rod comes up. Just got this little spring clip. I'm going to pull that out, pull it down, pop that off so this whole thing can come off. All right, guys. I got to be a little more organized here. Not my strong point, but use our grip mat. Quick plug for grip mat. Get those from Toolbox Widget. They're awesome. You can use our code Highland 10, save 10%. All that happiness. And it really is. They are, honestly, of all the things the Toolbox Widget sells, they're actually my favorite. I like the Toolbox Widgets themselves very much, but I like the grip mat even better. All right, so I think this is all gonna come off without having to take the water pump apart. All right, I think we're gonna have to take the water pump cover off and get the impeller loose. Sometimes you can slide the whole thing off, sometimes you can't, so no worries. Guys, if you're doing this, careful of that little dude. That spacer needs to be there. There we go. So it does look like I could have taken that off without it. It didn't slide through. It was just hung up on this O-ring, which is different than most other like KTMs and things like that. There's not usually that O-ring with that thing that goes in. It's actually a really good design. It's better than those guys' design because it seals better. Anyway, it's just better. Remove our gasket. I believe just got oil soaked and was just weeping even with it tight. So now, guys, another pro tip. If you're on a lift and you got straps like this, like I do, come over and let this thing lean to the right, and we'll get all the oil will all come out this way. We're gonna let it sit for a while, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. So that's been draining now for a while. We're gonna release tension on this side. We're gonna go back to the other side so no more comes out, because I'm sure there's still obviously a little bit of oil in there. Take a clean-ish rag, get all the oil off the sides. Oh, son of a... So our goal here is to get all the oil off the case, because in talking to my friend who used to work for Beta Factory as their mechanic, he was Johnny Walker's mechanic while he was here racing Endurocross a couple years ago. These gaskets, just the style of gasket that it is, they can get impregnated with oil and then they just won't seal. So got to make sure that's nice and clean. I got this super duper clean, cleaned it with brake clean, parts washer, then brake clean. Now we'll wipe it down with a rag again. Now, guys, I like to take the dowel pins, if I can, out of the cover and put them into the case so I can put the gasket on the case and then put it all together. It seems to me That's the easiest way to make sure the gasket stays in its home. So, dowel out, in, brand new gasket from Beta USA. These definitely are kind of old school gaskets. I like the new KTM ones that are the rubber coated aluminum. They just are definitely better. These gaskets work, they're fine, but the other ones, those metal metal ones that are coated in rubber, are definitely a better setup. So, all right, now something important on these, I'm going to get a little bit of grease and put that on that O-ring so it slides in nice and easy. And any grease will work. Now before we tighten everything down, you saw me clean this gasket after I dumped it in the oil. We want to get this gasket back in place. I'll show you up close here why. So this gasket goes behind this O-ring. So you got to get it on there before you tighten everything down, otherwise it's a real pain. Okay, so it's there. Don't have to go crazy. Yeah, it'll be good. So now, bolts in. Guys, with all covers. I'm using this to just start them, but then we'll go back and we'll use a torque wrench because these are easy to strip out. They're little bolts. They're 6mm bolt. It's got an 8mm head, but it's a 6mm bolt. Easy to strip out, and that is what you don't want to do. I'm going to clean this. I don't have a new O-ring for this, so we're just going to clean it up. It's fine because, and the way you can tell for sure that it's fine is if you look at it on its flat, it sticks up a little bit, so it's all good. Water pump impeller. Now this dude, I will go ahead and run on. So we got this set for 8 foot-pounds. Now we're going to put our Enduro Hog cover back on this. Run our bolts in. Highland Cycles, this is Morgan. Yeah, no worries. Okay, sounds good. Bye. Right, guys, got the clutch cover. I do have a new clutch cover O-ring, so I removed that. Gonna dry this off. All right, got the O-ring in. Now we're going to put this on, and I am still going to use this, so I need to see which ones get covered up. It's the bottom one and this top left one, and make sure I put those in, and we'll torque all this stuff before we then put the cover on. All right, now we're going to go around, torque these things in as much of a crisscross pattern as we can. Like we said, we're missing a couple bolts. We had to torque these, so it's not perfect when you have these other covers on there. It's kind of not the best setup, but it works just fine. So we're just gonna like I said, crisscross. All right, guys. Next, before we put the cover on, we're going to take our power valve cover. We're going to install our little clip. It's like every other one of these things. Being careful not to drop the clip into the transmission. Then on this guy, you can see I put some ultra black on here before, it's RTV silicone. I'm just going to leave that on there because it actually kind of made a gasket. And there's already an O-ring, so I'm going to slide that on. We already put the clip on and all that. Now, we're going to put our coolant hose back on. One of the keys to the betas is get this brake spring on there first. Put our cover on. Kickstarter. One of my favorite things about this motorcycle. And it's still got enough thread locker on there that I'm not even going to bother putting more on. It's all right. That's better. Now, all right, guys, so sorry, but the camera actually ran out of battery before I got to say, hey, it's all done. But it's all done. The big takeaway from that video, guys, is first of all, be careful as you're taking things apart, not to remove things that are having a hard time. You know, if it feels like you're forcing it, just take your time. And then making sure that the surface of those cases and cover are super, super clean on a beta. That gasket is just not made for being soaked in oil. So you want to really make sure you get that clean and dry before you put it together and squeeze it. And then it can have the oil on it and won't have a problem. And then obviously torquing those bolts to 8 foot-pounds, crisscrossing and making sure it's all good. So anyway, I hope that video is helpful. Make sure you comment below if that was helpful. If you used it to do the job or you used it to learn something else, that would be awesome. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. We do lots of these how-to videos. We do review videos. We just do weekly vlog videos. We do ride videos, race videos, all kinds of cool stuff. So make sure you subscribe. We're trying to grow this thing to a giant, giant channel if we can. And if you can't shop locally, use the links in the description below to buy some stuff. It helps us a ton, and they'll help you guys out too. I love you. We'll see you on the next one.